America's biggest tariff strike on China. 245% duty and the devastation of a trade war. Have you ever seen an economic war escalate so quickly that predicting the next move becomes impossible? Have you ever imagined that the stubbornness and retaliatory actions between two nations could hold the entire global economy hostage? And if tomorrow morning your phone, laptop, or car becomes twice as expensive, don't be surprised. Because the trade war that started between the US and China has now reached a point where there's neither room to retreat nor a breeze of compromise. In response to China's 125% tariff, the US has now announced a 245% reciprocal duty. And this is the turning point from where the direction of global trade could change entirely. Today, we will dive deep into this issue. But before that, if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update from us. So let's begin today's discussion without any delay. US President Donald Trump made this announcement shortly after China decided, just weeks ago, to impose a steep 125% tariff on imports from the United States. But Trump's strategy wasn't limited to a mere retaliatory strike. According to documents released by the White House, the US will now impose tariffs of up to 245% on Chinese products that are sold in large quantities in American markets. This means Chinese companies will now find it far more difficult to compete in the US, severely affecting their competitive edge. This decision isn't just economic, it is strategic. Trump is now applying pressure on every front where China has historically gained technological or trade advantage. Another major reason behind this move, President Trump signed an executive order mandating an investigation into minerals and related products on which the US is highly dependent on China. These include gallium, germanium, antimony, and other rare earth elements. These minerals are not only used in high-tech industries but are also critical to strategic sectors like defense, aerospace, and computing. Trump stated that America's dependence on China for these minerals has become a threat to national security. According to him, the time has come for the US to boost domestic manufacturing of these products and reduce reliance on foreign supply chains. China's response was equally sharp. A spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry demanded that the US clarify how the 245% tariff was calculated. China accused the US of repeatedly violating global trade rules under the guise of tariffs and of taking unilateral actions. Beijing emphasized that it has merely acted to defend its legitimate rights, and in this trade war initiated by the US, it will neither back down nor be intimidated into a compromise. China has made it clear that if the US imposes further tariffs, it will not hesitate to tighten export controls on its technological assets and critical minerals. According to China, the US's current tactic is one of sheer pressure, raising tariffs repeatedly in an attempt to force China to the negotiation table on its knees. However, China has stated that while it is open to dialogue, it must be based on mutual respect and equality. We are willing to shake hands, but not bow our heads. This statement perfectly captures China's stance. Chinese officials have indicated that they will only begin talks if the US agrees to assess its tariffs fairly and moves away from coercive strategies. Meanwhile, the US has sent a different message to the rest of the world. The White House announced that over 75 countries have reached out to initiate new trade agreements with the United States. As a result, the administration has postponed the imposition of any tariffs of 10% or more on these countries, excluding China. In effect, America has adopted a divide-and-rule strategy. China is isolated, everyone else is with us. The Trump administration is viewing this as a strategic victory, claiming it strengthens America's global diplomatic influence. The key question now is whether this support will last or if it's only temporary. This tariff war officially began on 2nd April 2025, when the US, citing its widening trade deficit, announced a reciprocal duty policy. Since then, both countries have been escalating the conflict week by week with new tariff declarations. The US first imposed a 145% duty, to which China responded with a 125% tariff. Now, Trump has raised the stakes with a new 245% blow. These figures aren't just taxes. They reflect the future's uncertainty and the shifting dynamics of global power. Experts believe this trade war has evolved far beyond an economic dispute. It has become a battle for technological dominance, military readiness, and global leadership. Recently, the US exempted certain electronic items, such as smartphones, laptops, and tablets, from its tariff hike. Trump argued that demand for these products in the US is extremely high and that there are currently no viable domestic alternatives. However, China responded seriously and filed a formal complaint with the World Trade Organization, WTO. China now intends to take this conflict beyond just trade, bringing it to the realm of international law. Its goal is to put the US under global scrutiny at the WTO platform in order to gain broader international support. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs also released another strong statement, declaring that if the US continues to raise tariffs, China will start ignoring Washington altogether. No dialogue, no response, just diplomatic silence. In diplomatic terms, this is one of the strongest forms of protest. And the consequences won't be limited to just bilateral trade between the US and China. The entire global economy will feel the impact. Institutions like the IMF and World Bank have already issued warnings that if this US-China tariff war continues at the current pace, global GDP could fall by up to 1.5% within the next 2 years. The issue doesn't end there. Immediately after Trump announced the 245% tariff hike, shockwaves spread across America's auto sector, tech companies, and aerospace industry. These companies fear that if China retaliates by cutting off the export of its strategic minerals, production lines could come to a halt. This would affect employment, trigger volatility in the stock markets, and drive inflation. However, Trump supporters are framing it as a case of short-term pain for long-term gain. They believe that this move will ultimately lead to greater American self-reliance. But Trump is less concerned with these warnings and more focused on reducing the US trade deficit at any cost. His goal is to fully realize that Made in America vision. And if it means straining relations with any country, Trump is not backing down. His agenda is clear: American jobs, American manufacturing, and American dominance. And he's willing to go to any extent to achieve that. The greatest complication in this battle is that neither the US nor China is backing down. Both superpowers are trying to outmaneuver each other using economic weapons. But the question remains, how will this confrontation end? Is a resolution possible? Or is this trade war the beginning of a new Cold War? Experts believe that smaller countries will be the most affected in this clash. They will have to choose whether to align with the US or China. And for nations like India, which maintain strong trade relations with both, the situation becomes even more sensitive. India will need to remain strategically cautious, making its decisions based on both neutrality and national interest. This conflict is no longer just about trade policy. It has evolved into a battle of geopolitics, diplomacy, technology, and the future of global leadership. Every chapter, every decision in this war is bound to impact every corner of the world. It's a war without bullets, but one that's gripping the economies of every nation.
If our video has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestion. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources: news from various news agencies, opinion polls, and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.